Hey, it's James from Marketing for Restaurants here, and welcome to episode 123 of Secret Sauce, the restaurant marketing podcast. Why is Yelp a billion-dollar bully?
Some restaurants are quiet, lose money, and the owner works 70 hours a week. Other restaurants are busy, profitable, and the owners work a few hours a day. What's the difference? They have a secret sauce. Join James from Marketing for Restaurants as he helps you come up with your recipe for restaurant success. Your secret sauce.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. How have you been going with your thinking about innovation and creativity? There's still lots to explore, I think, in this area. There's a lot more tools that I think that we can probably sort of tease out, ways that you can introduce innovation and creativity into your restaurant for fun and profit. I mean, who doesn't like a little bit of innovation when you get it right, when you actually make a bit of cash out of it? It's pretty cool. Today I'm really excited. We're talking to Kaylie Milliken. Now, Kaylie is a film director, and we're going to be talking about a film that she has made. It's called Billion Dollar Bully, and it talks about Yelp and some of the, fairly unsavory business practices that they've got, that they're using, and how it impacts not just restaurants, but a wide range of small businesses. It really is quite disturbing. Now, if you're in the United States and you haven't seen Billion Dollar Bully yet, then definitely check it out. It's on Amazon, YouTube, and iTunes. Outside of there, then you need to be reaching out to people like Netflix and say, hey, we want to see it. So haven't got an international distributor agreement yet, but I'll let everyone know when it is available in a few more countries, because this is a growing trend that we are seeing around the world, and that is these billion-dollar companies that are really just trying to take money out of the pockets of small businesses, and because there's lots of them and they don't think that they've got the resources, they think that it's fair game. Well, I don't really think that that's fair, and it's important to live in a fair and equitable society, and I think that, we have strength together when lots of businesses, lots of restaurants take an action. It's interesting comparing what's happening with Yelp, and now we're seeing, so in India, we're having a log out campaign from Zomato. Zomato and a couple of other companies really pushing the deep discounting that is so destructive for restaurant owners. It's very difficult to be profitable in a restaurant, and when you're doing deep discounting, it's impossible. Money's just going out the door. And India, there's thousands of restaurants who've said, nope, we've had enough, and they're logging out of Zomato and they're moving on. It's an important narrative because I believe that small independent restaurants are a critical part of the economy, and I think that they need to be supported and given every tool to flourish. And, that's why we've done things like Forbes, Frollo, and offer a lot of the, why we do this podcast is to help that fundamental part of society so that, there's good economic stimulus there, good jobs for people to be able to do them. And, of course, this is the selfish bit, I've got somewhere cool to go out and have a meal. Whether it's Indian, Chinese, or pizza, we had pizza for lunch. We ordered it. It was disappointing. It was an hour late. I've got to tell you, when you're ordering food for a corporate, timeliness is a really big thing. But that's enough about me. Let's get into our interview with Kaylie Milliken and the story of Yelp being the billion-dollar bully. Hey, Kaylie, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, James.
So, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself to start off with?
Sure. Well, this is my first documentary. I live outside of San Francisco in California with my husband and kids. And prior to this, I was a teacher, and I was interested in film in college. I majored in film and got very sick of LA. So I left and didn't pursue film at all. And this is my first step back into that direction.
Exciting. So do you want to tell us a little bit about your first film then?
Sure. So I decided for this first project to take on a multi-billion-dollar corporation, which may have been pretty naive. Yeah, why not go in with a bang?
That's it.
So I became interested in it because I had been at a doctor's appointment, and this doctor to me is amazing. She was able to diagnose a problem I'd been having for years that 3 other doctors couldn't diagnose. I was so grateful to her, and she asked me if I ever used Yelp, and I said, yeah, I used it occasionally as a consumer. I would go on to find restaurants or random things. And she started to tell me about her experiences with Yelp. And the more that she said, the more shocked I became. I had heard before that they have very aggressive salespeople. I'd heard that from my husband. But what she had told me was just, it sounded illegal. And I thought, if what she is saying is true, how is this multi-billion-dollar corporation getting away with it? And I went home, began researching it, and I found just thousands and thousands of people all complaining about the same basic things. And I thought, okay, this is coming from a business owner's perspective. What's Yelp's response? So I found that anytime Yelp is questioned, first of all, they attack the person questioning, try to completely discredit them. Then they jump to 3 areas of repetition. They say there was a Harvard business study that shows we do nothing wrong. Court cases have all been dismissed, and the FTC closed an investigation against us. And I thought, well, that all sounds pretty solid. So let's look at this Harvard business study. And as I started reading through it, I thought, this doesn't say anything that Yelp claims that it says. This cannot be the right study. And I went on Yelp's website, and sure enough, that's what they linked to. And I thought, okay, if this is their big smoke screen, what else is going on here? And I became shocked by what I saw. And I thought this would be a great documentary, because people like myself, consumers, they have no idea what's going on behind the curtain. And it's by using Yelp, we're continuing to feed the monster. And so I thought people should just be aware about the problems.
So what are some of the things that Yelp are doing that you're seeing?
Business owners all claim that when they decline to advertise with Yelp, suddenly their 5-star reviews get filtered out and negative reviews come up to the top. Sometimes these are negative reviews from clients they have never had, consumers that have never been in their business. And suddenly they're just getting these random negative reviews. And when they stay on Yelp's good side, their page stays nice and cozy. And as soon as they get on Yelp's bad side, it can all just go to pot.
Wow. So effectively, you've got to pay to maintain your reputation then?
Got to pay to play. Yep.
And how is that affecting small businesses then?
In an internet-driven world, consumers go online all the time to see reviews of businesses before they go there. They want to make sure they're getting the best bang for their buck. So they don't want to go to a restaurant with 2 stars. They don't want to go to a doctor with 1 or 2 stars, even 3 or 4 stars. They want the best of the best. They want to find those businesses that have 5 stars. Jeremy Stoppelman, who's the CEO of Yelp, has said he would only go to a business with 3.5 stars or less out of pure desperation. So that tells you how much people really cling to these reviews to dictate where they do and don't spend their money.
Wow. That's quite bad. So what are small businesses doing then to sort of try and respond to this?
A lot of businesses, one of the big problems that could be solved is if Yelp would just allow businesses to opt out. If businesses could just not be on Yelp, they would be fine. But they can't get off of Yelp. Once your business is there, it's stuck. You cannot take it down, even if you didn't put it up. Anybody can put any business on Yelp. And as soon as that business is up there, they start getting the phone calls from Yelp sales representatives trying to get them to pay for advertising. And it's unfair that these businesses have no control over their reputation. There are some things that they've done. For example, one of the people that I interviewed in the film, he started a campaign to get the worst Yelp reviews. He started asking everybody to leave him 1-star reviews, and just to make a mockery of it and show people that reviews don't matter. And you don't know who is sitting behind their computer writing these reviews. Don't trust it. Just go. And if you go through word of mouth, if you're in a new city, experience something new, ask a local what they would recommend, and don't rely so heavily on it. And as consumers, if we would stop going to Yelp so much, then that would help business owners out too, because we're not feeding into the problem.
How much do people actually use Yelp today? Because I know that, like, when I've traveled to San Francisco, I've used Yelp on a couple of occasions, but I refuse to use it now, mainly because of the fact that the reviews don't actually correlate with the kind of experience that I'm looking for. So I've been to some places that have had awful reviews, like 2.5, and I've questioned whether I should go there, and found it to be really a great little restaurant. And I've been to other places that are, this is the must, go to dessert place in San Francisco. It's completely amazing, blah, 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 blah. And I haven't even gone in because the place looked just so dirty, horrible and dingy, and certainly not what it was made out to be on Yelp.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy. You do not get what the business that is on Yelp is not at all reflective of how a business actually is. And it's hard to avoid Yelp, though, because when you go to search for a business, their SEO is so strong that it's usually the first 10 things to pop up. And if you're using an iPhone, it's integrated with your search. If you use Apple Maps, which who does, but some people do, Yelp is integrated with Apple Maps. And it's hard to not get a bad taste in your mouth for a business if they've got 1 or 2 stars on there. Of course, you're even if it's just in passing, you're going to think, ugh. So yeah, it is very hard to avoid, but there are certainly other ways to go around finding businesses. And there are a lot of other online review sites that are becoming more and more popular. But again, just asking local people what they would do, where they would go, is going to give you much more insight.
Because you'll often find the places that the locals are going to rather than the tourist places as well.
Right, the hole-in-the-wall shops. Yes, exactly.
Exactly, yep. So what was the process for making the movie then?
I ran a Kickstarter campaign to get the funding to make the film, and that did pretty well. That brought a lot of attention to the film, so that was great. Then once that was over, it was time to start making the film. And leading up to the Kickstarter campaign, I had done just enough filming to put together a trailer to show people, okay, this is kind of the premise of the film. It wasn't the actual project at all, though. So then we had to find the people with good stories who could speak on camera and not clam up, and coordinate schedules, find a director of photography, find sound people, do all kinds of things to get it set up. And we would go filming and then hear of someone else who had a really great story. So then we'd have to get everything put together again and go fly and coordinate schedules. So once we got that done, it took a while to edit and put together, and we finally were able to release in May. And it's been great. There are a lot of business owners that feel vindicated. I've had so many emails from business owners saying, I felt like I was completely alone. I didn't realize this was happening all over the board. Other people have been saying, see, I've been trying to tell everybody for years and nobody believes me. And so I think people are feeling really vindicated. Consumers, I think, have a better understanding that Yelp is not the rosy company that they make themselves out to be. And I think some consumers probably look at it and go, oh, come on, can this really happen? But yes, it does happen. And it's sad and unethical.
Extremely unethical, I would have thought. And just making it so hard for... and so you're finding it across a wide range of industries then as well. So it's not just restaurants, because we all obviously think, restaurants first and foremost, but it's happening in other industries as well.
Oh, you wouldn't believe how many people are affected by Yelp. Like I said, the medical profession, but also roofers, plumbers, electricians, dog walkers.
Dog walkers.
Yeah. One of the people I interviewed in the film had a piano shop. Just so many professions that you would never really think about are very impacted by Yelp.
That's really quite amazing, isn't it? That they've decided to be able to be the arbiter of who runs a good business and who doesn't, arbitrarily, right. and effectively who they can extract the most money out of. Right.
They seem to enjoy playing God with people's reputations. And one thing that is so ironic is they love telling business owners, well, if you're not happy with your online presence, you need to be a better business owner. Okay, reach out to those people and right your wrongs. but they never do that. Yelp's consumers are the business owners, and they are never reaching out to try to right their wrongs. They're only reaching out to try to make more money in advertising. If you go onto Yelp.com and look up Yelp in San Francisco, they have a 2-star rating, which, again, ironic since their CEO says he will only visit a business with 3.5 stars or less out of desperation. So they have 2 stars and thousands and thousands of filtered 1-star reviews that would bring their star rating down another notch. And they don't respond to anybody on there. Yet they're constantly telling business owners to go respond to all of their reviews on Yelp. So they love to give advice and not follow through.
Do you know what sort of charges, what it is that they're charging each small business?
It varies from about $300 to $20,000 a month, depending on the business. And they have their cost per click program, and those cost per click will increase without warning and often do. I've had many people tell me I signed up, it was about $2.50 a click, and all of a sudden it was at $14 per click, and there was no warning. And it's just the way they run it is so ineffective.
Wow. But still going moderately strong, according to just a quick Google search, revenue of $943 million last year and 5,500 employees.
They have a lot of employees. They have a lot of salespeople. It's unfortunate that they have such a stranglehold on these businesses.
Have you spoken to many people who work at Yelp? Like, what is it like working at Yelp? Because obviously they'd be talking to business owners, and I would have thought they'd be bearing the brunt, like particularly in the restaurant industry. If you upset a restaurant owner, they will probably tell you in fairly colourful ways. So I'm imagining that they have a couple of colourful conversations every now and then. How do they feel working for Yelp?
I think they feel usually fairly arrogant. The people that do sales for Yelp are pretty much always college grads. They've just graduated college. It's their first big job out of college. And Yelp likes to set up this kind of frat atmosphere where it's loud in there. It seems immature and annoying to me, but they bang a gong every time they make a sale, and everybody claps for them, and they go out drinking, and they have kegs at the office. And I've spoken with a few people who would talk about suffering from FOMO when they worked there, fear of missing out, and there was just always so much going on, and they always wanted to participate. And so it was fun for them. It was and it was hard because they were having to deal with a lot of very angry business owners. So they probably do rely on each other and need to drink at the end of the day to get the stink off.
Because I don't know, I'd like to go to work and do something good rather than and dealing with customers who are unhappy with your product. That's probably going to be fairly grinding.
Yes, but I also think when they go in, they don't go in thinking it's a bad thing. Yelp seems like this kind of glamorous tech company, and you walk in and the building is huge and amazing, and the people who train the salespeople do a great job at indoctrinating them and convincing them why this is the best business to come along ever. And they really just have salespeople thinking, yeah, we are out there doing God's work. So they don't go in with bad intentions, and they're lied to, I think, a lot. They kind of have to do their own research to figure out or listen to businesses and actually realize why it's not the great company that they're told it is.
Now, the study that you talked about, was that by Michael Luca, Reviews, Reputation and Revenue, the case for Yelp.com?
Yes, it was.
Interesting, because it talks about a fair increase in revenue based on the star system.
Right. It talks about, so it's a very limited study, and it was only done in Boston and only with restaurants. So it was only examining this limited group of restaurants. And basically what the study said was people or restaurants that get better reviews are more likely to get more business than restaurants without as great reviews, which I think seems fairly logical. What Yelp often says it claims is that Yelp doesn't filter the reviews, and it doesn't say that. What the review says is they don't know how the algorithm works, and they don't really have a good way of guessing. So it doesn't make the claims that Yelp says it does.
Yeah. And the restaurant that you talked about, is that an Italian restaurant?
It is. It's a small Italian restaurant called Botto Bistro in Richmond, California.
Is that north of the Golden Gate Bridge?
No, it's east.
Okay. I think I've seen there's been a few restaurants who in desperation have asked all of their customers to give them a 1-star review.
Yes. So David Cecchini is the restaurant owner, and he's amazing. He's hilarious, and he made quite a name for himself in that campaign and trying to get as many 1-star reviews as he could. And when he started doing it, he said, I will give you 25% off a pizza if you write me a 1-star review on Yelp. And Yelp sent him a letter saying, this is against our terms of service. You may not offer people discounts for 1-star reviews. And so he upped the ante and said, okay, now it's 50% off for 1-star reviews. And it worked. It was great.
He's still in business?
He is. He's a very, very busy guy. He's wearing a lot of different hats right now. He's doing a lot of private events for people now.
So, and I think that's the big message, is that there is life after running into these sort of problems. And, their advice to be a better business, the business may actually be quite a good business. But I know one of the long-term trends, and this is what I'll be keen to see, is what your thoughts are on Yelp. But I know that when we look at reputation management for restaurants, you'll often find Yelp will have a significantly lower, for restaurants that we know is good. And of course, in restaurant marketing, it's difficult because everyone says that their restaurant is amazing and you've just got to try the food and it's completely the best restaurant that you've ever been to. We hear that quite a bit. But in restaurants that we've actually been to, and it is a well-run restaurant, they've got great food, great value, great experiences. The interesting thing is that on platforms like Google and Facebook, their reviews tend to be significantly higher. And I think that's because of the fact that there's probably more likely to be accuracy in the reviews that are done. I
would agree with that, especially with places like Facebook, where yes, you can make up a fake Facebook profile, but you're probably not going to just to leave somebody a bad review. You're held a little more accountable for the things you say. And with Yelp, it seems to attract a lot of negativity. You don't tend to hear people getting mad and saying, I'm going to go leave you a Google review. The common thread is, I'm going to Yelp you. I'm going to go leave you a bad Yelp review. It just seems to breed negativity. And entitlement. Well, that's the other thing, because with the rise of shows like, do you have MasterChef in the United States? I have TV show. Yeah, so we have Iron Chef. I don't know about MasterChef. So yeah, similar sort of thing. A lot of people feel entitled because they watch a couple of these shows, and if the experience that they get at their local pizza restaurant doesn't exactly match what they saw on TV last night, they tend to get a little bit entitled and think that they could have probably done a bit better anyway. So, and then they're writing all sorts of crazy things. When you get the Yelp elites mixed in there and they get used to people giving them little freebies to give them a better Yelp review, that's not helpful at all. Have you seen the South Park episode about Yelping? No, I didn't know that they don't work. It's hilarious. I'll have a look at it. I highly recommend looking it up. It's hilarious. Right, excellent. So what do you think the future will be for Yelp? It would be nice if they would change their business practices, but I don't think that's likely, and I hope that they just reach a demise. Their stock isn't doing terribly well. At one point it was $100, and now it's about $30. It usually ranges between $30 and $35 per share, and it would be nice if people would just stop using Yelp and relying on it, because they've had the chance to right their wrongs and they just don't. They are very, very arrogant, and that arrogance stems from the top. And I really don't believe anything will change until there's a big change at the top, because that's where the atmosphere all comes from. So it's interesting. I'm a big believer in economic theory, long-term economic theory, because particularly with large
funded companies, the profitability tends to be one of those things that they can, they'll raise a lot of cash, then they've got a lot of cash to burn, so they can do things that aren't quite economic. For someone like Yelp, they have to provide long-term value. And so I don't use them because they don't work for me. The places that they send me to aren't the places that I want to go to. I would have thought I'm probably not the only one. And a place that it has a 1-star review, like that would probably be the only restaurant that I would probably want to go on Yelp. Someone who's actively run a 1-star campaign, because they're that good that they can have a 1-star review.
Yes. And stay afloat.
And survive and thrive. I think that that's a really important thing. So I think it will be interesting to see what happens, because their share price definitely hasn't been strong for quite a while, and some of that was related to the film, wasn't it? There were concerns.
It was when I ran the Kickstarter campaign. Their stock, the day after I believe I had started the campaign, their stock went down 4%, which was a $150 million hit, and I think that's pretty cool. Yeah. I think it's indicative of the mistrust surrounding and the climate surrounding Yelp.
If it was only a couple of people that was being affected, then no one would have really taken too much notice. The fact that, stockholders were selling off, obviously the party's pretty good while the party's still going, but sooner or later the music stops, and then people are going to be ended up without chairs, and it all gets a bit sad from there.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, is there anything else you wanted to say about Yelp?
Not about them, but about the film.
Yes, what about the film? Because we need a international distribution agreement.
I know.
Don't we?
Yes, that's what I'm looking for right now, an international distributor, so it can be seen outside the United States, and I'm very hopeful that will happen soon.
Excellent.
So I will let you know as soon as I know anything.
Yeah, please do, because I know, so the vast majority of our listeners are in the United States, but we've got quite strong, I think we get listeners in over 130 countries. And I know in Australia, fake reviews, review management is quite a hot topic issue. In fact, it's a massive issue. And we've done a few podcasts on mental health. And this is a recurring theme in the mental health space, because you've got people who are super passionate about their business, and then they get fake reviews or an algorithm that they don't understand or have to economically influence isn't a true reflection of all of the hard work that they put in. And that can be really devastating for some people. The emotional toll that takes, when you think that, these people, they've gone out, they've started their business, they've put all their passion into it, all of their skills, all of their capital, they've probably got a mortgage on their house, and then they get these fake reviews. And we've seen it plenty of times. We've seen reviews on places that haven't even opened yet, which is really sad.
So, going to that, or speaking to that, I was just at a retirement party yesterday for one of the people who was in the film. He owns this really beautiful piano shop. He hasn't been in there since August 1st, and on August 13th, there was yet again a new negative Yelp review about someone who was just in his shop, and he doesn't own it anymore. And that's another problem with Yelp reviews, is that when you buy a business, you're also buying their reputation, and that's very unfortunate.
Wow. Not fair. So, and I think it really important to say thank you for the work that you've done on shining a light on this business practice, because I think that there's a lot of people who would use Yelp without actually knowing, and it just really comes down to their individual experience of the restaurants that they go to, and if that correlates with what it is that they've seen online. But I think more and more people are starting to become aware that dealing directly with a small business is probably a much better way of going, rather than using these multi-billion-dollar intermediaries who are trying to filter a message because they think that they can, clip the ticket on the way through of the transaction.
Yeah, I just hope the word continues to spread, because it's important for consumers to know, so that we're not feeding the monster. And I also do think business owners appreciate not feeling alone in their struggles with Yelp.
Exactly. Well, great work, Kaylie. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you, James.
No worries. And there you have it. So in the show notes, we'll put this up on Facebook. We'll probably do a little bit of a Facebook video around it. Definitely, if you've had issues with Yelp, I'm keen to hear what it is. What if the issues that you've been, do you think that your ratings and reviews have been shaped by some sort of algorithm? More importantly, how are you dealing with it? Do you just pay that tax? Is that the way that you view it? It's a tax that just had to be paid? Or, are you fighting back in some way? And, the thing that I find really interesting is if you've got a great restaurant and you're not advertising on Yelp, then it's going to be harder for people to find a good restaurant because they're not going to be finding your restaurant. And I'm really interested in that. If it's not a valid reviews platform, a recommendation engine, then that completely, fundamentally destroys the value proposition of Yelp. And literally, that is why I don't use Yelp. Now, I didn't know of some of these issues around shaping of reviews and shaping of the stars, but it makes complete sense when, I look at some of the places that I went to based on Yelp's recommendations and some of the places that I was a bit hesitant about because of what Yelp said. So very interesting. If you got anything out of this, please like or share it. Now, don't forget, if you haven't seen Billion Dollar Bully, then check it out, Amazon, YouTube and iTunes in the United States, and I'll let you know when it's available internationally. That's about it. You have a profitable week. Bye.
Want more customers for your restaurant, cafe or takeout? Every month, our marketing tools and information are used by thousands of restaurant owners just like you to help them find more customers and turn them into repeat customers. All of our tools and information is designed specifically for restaurant owners. We know you don't have a lot of time to spend marketing or learning complicated procedures, so our tools are quick and easy to use. If you're looking to increase your revenue and profits or want to work less hours, check out marketingforrestaurants.com.